Hello, everybody. You are listening to The Big Chill Podcast. This is episode 7, Lambeau's Forecast.
A freeze is coming.
Hello, Big Chillians. Welcome to our NFL Championship Sunday edition. Sure to be a good debate on whether it's going to be the Packers or the Bucks, Brady or Rodgers, and whether Mahomes will even remember he's playing on Sunday. But before we get into that, let's say hello to the boys. Eddie, I want to start with you. I know that you're not the COVID denier like Sam is, but did you see your idol got his vaccine the other day and had like some quotes about it?
My idol?
Yes.
I don't know which one of my idols you're referring to, but no, that I did not see this.
Talking about Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Oh, okay, that bit I did see, yeah.
So it was pretty funny. They filmed him getting his vaccine, Sam. I don't know if you've seen this, but the first thing he does is she starts to inject him, and he goes, "Put that needle down." and like a reference to in Jingle All the Way, he tells what's his name, Phil Hartman, to like put the cookies down. But like he gave no like pretext or context, and the woman didn't flinch. Like I was surprised. I thought she'd be like, "Oh, am I hurting you or something?" But she didn't like even. I don't know if she even heard him. So that was kind of funny. And then afterwards, he kind of tells everyone, you know, like, "Look, I got my vaccine. It's all good, no issues." And then he gave it the,
"Come with me if you want to live."
He's definitely not afraid of turning himself into a meme. Like, you have to give him credit. He does not take himself that seriously, and he's very happy to embrace the like meme culture. But I mean, he's.
Well, I think he's smarter. You know, I think he's smart in the sense that he knows why he's famous, and part of it is just, you know, like his voice and his mannerisms and the way he says things. You know, like the corny lines.
Well,
so I think he understands
he's a massive
it.
meathead.
Yeah.
You say, yeah. I mean, look, I agree with what you've just said. At the same time, his life has been extraordinary. And
I mean,
so
he was not only the governor of California, but probably more iconically, he was Mr. Freeze in the Batman film.
that might be. I think if he ranks his achievements, I don't think Mr. Freeze is above governor of California.
Nice to meet you.
That wasn't bad. But no, his life is, if I had to rank most amazing lives of the 20th century, of 20th century figures, he's in the top 10.
I find that unlikely.
I'm just thinking of all of his other quotes. I'm sorry.
Or like, get to the chopper.
No, of the Mr. Freeze ones.
Oh,
What killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age!
I can't remember any of them now. I just remember it just being horrendously pun central.
Yes.
Just anything cold was a pun. Who was it? Schumacher was the director of that film? No,
another one. I'll give you another one.
In this universe, there's only one absolute. Everything freezes.
Is that an absolute?
No, that's not a good quote. They're much better. They're puns. There are good puns from that movie. The ice to meet you is,
if revenge is a dish best served cold, then put on your Sunday finest, is another one he says. Eddie, if you can, what would be your top 3 Arnold movies?
It's tough because I really like Arnold, but I actually don't like that many of his movies. If you see what I mean, like
I like how
I'm
you
not
say
a huge.
if you can, like it would be impossible or a stretch.
Yeah,
somehow
difficult for me to name 3 of his movies.
Really?
No, I'm just that's what I mean. Where you're like, if you can, it's like, because it depends. Then, right? Do I go for iconic? Because like I don't like Terminator that much, but then obviously Terminator is probably his most iconic role.
What about Terminator or Predator?
I go Predator all day.
Predator is the better movie. Terminator is more iconic.
Okay, what about Kindergarten Cop or Jingle All the Way?
Kindergarten Cop.
Jingle All the Way.
Great movie.
Divisions.
Look, we can do like a bracket of Arnold Schwarzenegger movies, and we can dedicate an entire episode, like head to head knockout, seeing which one takes the title.
yeah.
I'll do that with you. But
haven't even brought up Mr. Freeze. That's how good he is. That's his range.
Well, also Pumping Iron. I know it's a documentary, but he is amazing in Pumping Iron. Yeah. Every line from that is gold.
Which has been surprising, right? Because sports documentaries, I guess sports for bodybuilding, using it kind of loosely, but sports documentaries have had such a moment during the like pandemic and the lockdown. It's interesting. And I've seen, for example, like the BBC are really promoting sports documentaries at the moment. Like they're pushing Hoop Dreams as saying like, this is a must watch sports documentary. Like if you enjoyed The Last Dance, watch Hoop Dreams. It's interesting that no one's really been talking about, hey, you should watch Pumping Iron. But if you're listening to this and you haven't seen Pumping Iron, then you should go out of your way to watch it this weekend.
What about Jean-Claude Van Damme movies?
I maybe have listened
not a
to.
big. Yeah, I'm not a big Jean-Claude Van Damme.
I can only think of Street Fighter.
I honestly, I don't.
With what is it, Kylie Minogue?
I don't get the interest in Jean-Claude Van Damme. The only thing that he's ever done that I've thought was reasonably impressive was that Volvo truck, like van truck commercial with the splits. That's the only time when I've been like, oh, okay, that was kind of cool.
What about the Coors Light adverts?
Take them or leave them.
Yeah, that's a pretty good summation, actually.
Now, you supposedly also had a topic for Sam, Frank, so...
Oh, yeah. So I figured this would be better suited for Sam because we know that you are such a picky eater. But I know Sam is such a gourmand. He's a foodie, as the new kids call it. I have a trivia question for you, Sam.
I'm so upset by this. Look, I'll take it. I've started the rumor that Sam is a coronavirus denier. So me being a picky eater is not the worst rumor to have going on this podcast. But the fact that Sam, Mr. KFC bucket order over here, is the one who's getting called a foodie.
I ordered a bucket once when I moved in.
No, that is
the amount of times I've talked a big game but never delivered on the order itself is magnifyingly a lot. But I legitimately did it once on the day I moved in, and it was glorious. But yeah, I'm hardly a gourmet eater. But Frank, what do you got for me?
So here's the trivia question. As of 2019, how many U.S. cities have at least a one Michelin-starred restaurant?
That's tough.
I actually legitimately didn't think it would go that way, your question. Damn, that's tough. I wouldn't even know where to start, so...
Stay cool, bird boy.
20?
Eddie, do you have a guess?
Yeah, I'm going to go like 45.
The answer is 5.
That's it? Oh, dear.
Yes.
Okay, New York.
This is interesting because it's New York, D.C., Chicago, San Fran, and L.A. The reasoning is because they've just recently branched out of outside of France and Europe. And so when they went to the U.S. to do their reviews, they didn't go to actual restaurants. They went to like the big cities where they thought the best restaurants would be. And they chose those 5 cities only. And originally it was just French restaurants they were reviewing, but now they've kind of opened it up to kind of all types of restaurants. But I thought that was crazy because whenever you think of Michelin star, you think of so many restaurants, but in the US, it's only in those 5 cities. But since then they've, the first change they've made is they're doing the whole state of California. That was like a 2020 change. And then I think they're going to start branching out further from there. But that's a pretty good trivia question. 2019, only 5 cities.
Do people in the US restaurateurs care about the Michelin? Is it that famous over there, or do they just think it's tires?
I think no, they know what it is. I think it's famous by name, but I don't think by like. because I guess there isn't as much here. So most people probably haven't been to a Michelin starred restaurant unless you live around one of those cities. Like I'm sure wealthy people in New York City love to brag that they go to Michelin star restaurants in the city.
Yeah, for sure. And all my friends in the Bay Area, you have people talking about going to some of the Michelin starred restaurants around there. So yeah, it probably depends where you are. I'm surprised that Tucson doesn't have any Frank.
Well, funny you mentioned that, Eddie, because they are the first ever UNESCO city of gastronomy.
Really?
Really?
Wow.
So how about that, Eddie? Didn't expect that to come back your way, did you?
That's why I decided to leave UNESCO. That's when I lost faith in the UN system.
Yep. Yeah, because I think they also have the Tucson. One of their famous taglines is they have like the best 23 miles of Mexican food in the world or something like that.
See, that's
like
the kind of slogan that doesn't get you Michelin stars.
It's really catchy. It rolls off
but
your tongue.
It gets you the first gastronomy city in the world.
I don't really get UNESCO's involvement with that. The same people that help like protect famous kind of sites of interest or wonders of the world or areas of like environmental concern, they're worried about gastronomy. Like
it's part of their creative. It's part of their creative cities network.
Do I need to explain to you what UNESCO does here, Sam? I mean,
no,
please do.
Fundamentally, right? It's about protecting intangible cultural heritage. That is the mission statement of UNESCO. So food and gastronomy would be included in that. Music gets protected. It does kind of fall under that overall umbrella. Now, when it comes to protecting or recognizing the gastronomic sort of state of Tucson, that seems unnecessary, but
I made a minor blip. It was the first in the US, not the first ever.
Okay.
I meant to say US, but it was chosen because of its region's rich agricultural heritage, thriving food traditions, and culinary distinctiveness.
Now, I guess if they're expanding the Michelin guide for all of California, one person who might be able to take advantage of some of those new Michelin accredited restaurants might be old Philip Rivers, who will have a little bit more free time on his hands now that he officially announced his retirement from the NFL.
Old cranky Philip Rivers.
Hall of Famer Philip Rivers.
I find that unlikely.
I would enjoy watching a 30-minute like documentary style clip of him just in-game commentary of like himself and the plays. Some of the shit he says is so funny. I'll never forget the one with the Jaguars defender. I forget his name. But that was like epic.
A lot of detail in what you just said there, Frank.
It's the one where he throws the 80-yard touchdown pass and he was like, 80 yards! Woo! And then the guy's like, hey man, not in my ear. Don't scream my ear. And he's like, he's like, stay humble, bro.
No, I know, but that now makes sense. But for listeners, otherwise, it was like, hey, I remember this really great story from that time with that defender I can't remember. Cool.
Keep it vague so it's technically not wrong.
Yeah. No, I mean, he's a unique personality. Should be protected by UNESCO, probably. And in that respect, you'll miss that because I think you don't see as many real personalities in the NFL anymore, particularly in the quarterback position where they all are becoming a little bit sort of mechanical in their approach, both in terms of their technique, which with the exception of a couple players is becoming more and more similar, but then also in their personalities. So it will be a shame. But it was time for him to retire. And I mean, he made the announcement, part of his retirement announcement. This blew my mind. He said that now he can start focusing on making a family. He already has 9 kids.
But no family.
No, I mean...
No, I thought he wants to focus on being a high school football coach.
That's part of it. So he's going to be a high school football coach Also, assuming he's going to get a commentator's job. This is the other thing that's expected to happen. And he's going to focus on, I mean, I don't know how many kids he's planning on having, but it must be at least 20 based on that.
The real question, though, Eddie, is he a Hall of Famer?
I find it unlikely.
No.
I have a question about Hall of Famers, by the way, just before, because I know this is hot button for you too. How long till you're considered after you retire?
5 years.
So in 5 years' time, Rivers has the first run at potentially being a Hall of Famer, right?
He becomes eligible. Yeah.
Okay.
And at
so
that
theoretically, theoretically, you could maybe not get in for like 3 or 4 years, then get in. So is it one of those things where like he was around during the times of like the Brady's, Breeze, Mannings, etc. So he was always going to play
you did it,
lower
you did
fiddle.
It to me again, Sam. You did
I
it
know,
to me again.
and I did it deliberately. It's great. But
I'll give it to you.
All of those
the
family
Mannings,
names.
The Mannings.
The
I'll give it to
Mannings
you.
is correct.
Because there are multiple Mannings. But everything, there were no, as far as I know, Tom Brady does not have a brother playing in the NFL.
So all of those families, they're obviously ripe candidates for it. Could there be, so it sounds like there could be a chance that Rivers could be considered later on as other QBs come through that maybe don't get, say if there's a lull in quality, they could maybe reassess Rivers's quality and put him in.
So they do talk about that. So the idea you do see players miss out sometimes because they're not told to do this, but clearly they're not going to have a year where they nominate only quarterbacks. So you definitely do see, you have players who will openly say they know they weren't going to give you a first ballot Hall of Famer because the year they were coming through is the same year that one of the greatest wide receivers of all time was going to be eligible. So I do think the timing of it might mean, so obviously Drew Brees will become eligible at the same time, assuming Brees retires. And there's a chance that Ben Roethlisberger retires. So you'd have the three of them eligible in the same year, potentially. At that case, you'd have to say, even if you think Phil Rivers is a Hall of Famer, he's not going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. But you do see guys sometimes who get voted into the Hall of Fame like 30 years after they became eligible. And that did definitely happen in a lot of sports when sabermetrics and statistics became a big thing, and so people started to appreciate what a player was doing in a different way. It's unlikely that people are going to start appreciating what Phil Rivers did in a different way, but I think he'll get in. I just don't think he is a Hall of Famer. I think if Rivers is a Hall of Famer, then I think 70% of the current quarterbacks in the NFL will have Hall of Fame worthy careers.
I mean, look, there's more to it than yardage and touchdowns, etc. Like Rivers hasn't won the Super Bowl, which is pretty important, but he is fifth in both of those categories for like touchdowns thrown and yardage. I mean, that's above him is Breeze, Brady, Manning, and Favre. So is that alone a credential winner for Hall of Famer, or do you think, Eddie, just out of interest, is he missing that ring on his finger? Is that the key here?
To me, it's not. The Super Bowl win isn't a requirement. But kind of, we discussed this before, right? I think if you're going to be a Hall of Famer, there has to be a moment in your career when people legitimately debated if you were the best person in your position in that time period. And ideally, I think you kind of want to be someone who, if someone argued you're the best in that position of all time, it wouldn't be ridiculous. If anyone came out and said, I think Philip Rivers is the greatest quarterback of all time, you'd be like, you're a moron.
Is he just the unfortunate bronze medaler during the age of the quarterback that he was in? He's the complete opposite. He's the fortunate quarterback who got to play at the start of the massive passing yards era. And so he has racked up an incredible number of yards over his career that will be passed by a ton of people.
But he wasn't fortunate enough to be on a team that won Super Bowls like Eli Manning.
For sure. Look, Eli's just lucky, but also Eli's not. With Eli, it's not just luck, right? It's two of the most iconic throws in the history of the NFL. And that matters. the fact, like, I cannot think. Just this question: Phil Rivers, most iconic play. Think of a Philip Rivers play. I'll give you all day.
The
And
one
not
where he
because
threw
it's
an 80-yard
funny.
touchdown and then
No.
just screamed in the guy's ear.
It's going to be a really quiet podcast. You know that. You know the question you're
But
asking.
you know what? Okay, so his most iconic play is a random touchdown against the Jags in a regular season game just because of how he celebrated. And that's my issue with Rivers is like, I can't remember a playoff moment. I can't even remember a week 16, week 17 moment. I'm sure that there are some that I'm overlooking because obviously he played in the playoffs but fundamentally to me, like he's fifth now, but within 10 or 15 years, he probably won't even be in the top 10.
Yeah. So a great one for me that comes to mind is there's no doubt in my mind Stafford will pass him in those categories. Is Stafford a Hall of Famer?
I find that unlikely.
I don't think so. I mean, he was an above average QB his entire career that had a great arm, threw a shit ton of yards and TDs. But again, like Eddie's saying, like he was never the best at that QB position his entire career. And I think the thing with Rivers, one of the big reasons why Rivers is so high in those categories is, like Eddie alluded to, he was in the start of like the passing era, like the QB era, but he also played a shit ton of games. He was like never out. I think he has the second longest consecutive game streak behind Brett Favre, you know, so he was playing almost every game in his 17 seasons he played. So just by grinding that out, you're going to get that high amount of yards and touchdowns and things like that. I mean, he was never an MVP, never close to an MVP. I don't think it was even probably like a top 3 vote for an MVP. So how can you put someone in the Hall of Fame that not only were they not the best at their position for at least 1 year, but weren't even considered to be the top 3 or 5 best in the NFL that year?
Yeah, and also part of the reason why he has so many yards too, right, is he played under a couple of offensive gurus, and he played in systems that were also built around having lots of passing yards. And part of that will be because they had him as a weapon. So we can't like downplay the fact that his skills, you know, he's one of those. I feel like whoever new comes along, they kind of give them credit. Like even at the weekend, they were talking about Patrick Mahomes and the throwing angles, the sidearm throws. But Rivers was kind of one of the first guys to come along and have unique throwing angles. But I mean, look, if you're looking at the all-time passing yards, Ben Roethlisberger is 3,000 yards behind him. So he's one season. If Big Ben plays next year,
Big if.
Rivers drops to 6th. Matt Ryan is 8,000 yards behind him. So if Matt Ryan plays 3 more years, he's definitely overtaking him.
Now, Matt Ryan is a better argument when he retires, because there is definitely an argument to be made that at a point in his career, he was the best QB for at least a season or 2.
Yeah. I mean, look, Aaron Rodgers is definitely going to overtake him. So we've already dropped him down to like 10th in the all-time passing yards total within the next few years. We're not even talking, and that's before we even get into the fact that obviously, assuming Mahomes has a long career, Mahomes is going to overtake him. You know, a whole host of other guys coming through might overtake him. Who knows? You know, even Lamar Jackson is such an elite throwing quarterback. Even Lamar Jackson might overtake him.
Wow, I just realized I just was looking at Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan and I have the exact same birthday. He's 1 year older though.
Wow, you got a year to catch up then on achievements. Who would
That's
swap
so pathetic
places?
of what my life is.
Who would swap places? I mean, okay, so you haven't had the NFL career, played in the Super Bowl, won the MVP, but you
Not
also
6'4".
you also haven't made millions of dollars, but you also haven't blown the biggest lead in the history of the Super Bowl. You haven't made a career the last few years out of blowing fourth quarter leads. So maybe he'd swap places with you. You never know.
Yeah, I bet he's never crashed an anesthesiologist party.
Probably
Maybe
not. Harder when you're famous.
Yeah, rite of passage. So it doesn't sound like you two think he should be, but do you think he will be?
Yes.
Okay.
No, I don't think he will. Because I
Really?
think exactly what Eddie said is going to happen is going to happen. Because even by 5 years from now, he'll drop from number 5 to like number 7 or 8. And if he doesn't get in that first year or two, he's going to be below the top 10. And then at that point, it's what? He's not even top 10 in any statistical category, never was first team All Pro, never an MVP, never won a Super Bowl. Then he was just a quarterback who played a really long career. And that's great. And I mean, like, that's probably his biggest achievement is how many games he actually played and grinded out. You know what I mean? Like, he obviously played through a lot of injuries and things like that, I'm sure. So there is kind of like in the Hall of Fame, there are a lot of players who get credit for that kind of like Iron Man mentality, but that's not enough to get you into the Hall of Fame. I think that's maybe can prop you up a little bit. Like, you have some really good stats. And in addition, you know, like, you had that whole Iron Man never was going to sit on the bench or ride a week out, things like that. But that can't get you in.
But the one factor we're not considering here, though, is if he does become a commentator and if he has a Tony Romo-esque start to his career in the booth and everyone loves him and everyone thinks what a great guy he is, it could upgrade the perception of his career. Like, for example, I mean, Tony Romo was a good quarterback and had a good NFL career. But I have no doubt that the general perception now of Tony Romo's career is a lot higher than it was at the moment when Tony Romo retired, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
And Tony Romo didn't have,
right?
Yeah, Tony Romo didn't have the Hall of Fame caliber career. So he might make it into the Hall of Fame as for his media work, but like actually as a football player now.
That's interesting. To be in the Hall of Fame, so it's 5 years, and I'm assuming there has to be, is there any criteria for like contribution to the game or something? Or is it literally just like you were a human being who played in the NFL for X amount of years, therefore you can be considered?
I don't think there's any specific criteria. People nominate you. I don't know what.
I mean, Romo can get in for a commentator.
Yeah.
Oh, so you can get in even if. Okay, I think that actually helps Rivers.
I think I'm almost positive you can get in as a commentator.
But you get voted in as a commentator. You don't get voted in as like Tony Romo in the Hall of Fame for playing / comment. It's like you are in as a commentator. Like he couldn't like pretend Tony Romo, Hall of Fame quarterback. It's like no, Tony Romo, Hall of Fame commentator.
Could he just do like a really little comma? So he could be like Hall of Fame commentator, quarterback.
Exactly.
Here's a good trivia question, Eddie. Where did Tony Romo go to college?
Eastern Illinois, I think.
Nice. Very good.
Same college, I think, as Jimmy Garoppolo.
Who?
That future Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
I think they went to. I think Jimmy G went there as well. I think.
And what about Phillip Rivers?
No idea.
NC State.
Yeah.
The last good one to come out of NC State.
But it also leaves Big Ben, right, currently as the last man standing from the 2004 class of quarterbacks, which is kind of interesting. Standing
is a little strong of a word.
I mean,
barely
last
kind of wobbling.
Last man non-retired.
It's so harsh.
Collapsed.
He was 11-0 at one point this season. Like he was in the MVP discussion at one point, at least in our MVP discussion, thanks to me.
There was a big show discussion about that. Yeah.
I can actually give you a really good segue in that, Eddie. When the Steelers went 8-0, according to 538's, whatever that like probability of winning versus losing, like games of chance, you've seen that before, right? Where it's like in close games, there's like that chance that you might just win or lose. The Steelers had the highest, like luckiest percentage in the first 8 games of the season, second most ever in the NFL. And then in the last 8 weeks, there's a team in the playoffs that has the luckiest out of the last 8 weeks ever with the amount of wins they had versus how much they probably should have.
In the playoffs now, or that made the playoffs?
Still in the playoffs now.
Chiefs.
The Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah.
We're statistically the luckiest team ever in the second half of the season. Out of
Is that
any
your
season.
segue? Is that your segue into the conference games now?
Yep. Can they keep that luck alive?
I mean, the big question first, right? All signs are pointing to the fact that Patrick Mahomes will play. He's seemingly, the concussion protocol is like a 5-stage process. I think he's in stage 4 now. He had light practice today. And so then they ask him, it's complete nonsense, but now they're going to be asking him after he practices, hey, do you feel dizzy? Is your vision okay? And he's going to say, all good. Yeah, never felt better. You know,
as he bleeds out of the ears.
Exactly. I just do that sometimes. I just drain my head before big games, so it's a little lighter and I move more quickly. But he that was actually dangerously close to a Dane Cook joke. But he like he's obviously going to play. The only thing that could possibly stop him is the third-party impartial doctor not giving him the okay.
Do you think, okay, you know what, let's quickly go into this game a little bit, because there's only 2 games, right? So we can just chat. But do you think that hit and the way Mahomes usually kind of wriggles out the pocket, can get extra yards, and he can kind of get out of pressure pretty well, do you think now that fear of another hit and he's sidelined in a conference game will change? Will he stay in the pocket more? Is kind of my question here against the Bills.
Maybe he doesn't run, but honestly, I don't think they need him to. I think that's like a bonus with Mahomes. And I do know that the thing he's really good at, right, is on like long third downs and stuff, picking up yards when everyone starts to drop deep. If he can buy some time in the pocket, and then he kind of like escapes and all of a sudden he's got 10 yards. Like that's where you usually see him get yards. It's not like he's not Lamar Jackson. Like they do have the occasional RPO and stuff, but I think they could fundamentally wipe that from their playbook and it's not an issue.
I think the issue is what both you guys are saying, not so much the running, but the ability to extend plays and scramble around. Whereas maybe in the back of his mind, he's a little shy about getting hit. And instead of trying to make that extra effort to scramble around, he kind of just takes the sack and falls down. That could be a legitimate concern because a lot of their plays are, him buying extra time and then Kelsey or Hill kind of going off on their own route, seeing he's scrambling and just getting open and hitting like a 30-yard throw downfield. And if he's nervous about that, that could be an issue.
But I was reading an article that because they were kind of looking into, obviously, how was he concussed? And so his spin on it and the Chiefs' spin is that he basically had a pinched nerve, whatever their story is, that he wasn't really concussed, that they kind of like trapped a nerve and that made him wobbly.
But he was diagnosed with a concussion.
Well, that's unclear. He went into the concussion protocol. But then the middle ground between those two stories was that he's had a spinal concussion, which is a thing. And the person who suffers pretty regularly from spinal concussions is Sidney Crosby. That's the type of concussion Crosby usually gets.
Oh, shit. Yeah. That is not a good sign.
For context, Sam, that is one of the greatest hockey players of all time. Currently plays for the Pittsburgh Penguins, but has had a career that has been absolutely plagued by. I mean, he sat out an entire season, didn't he? Because of his concussions.
Yeah, he sat out for like half of a season and then another half of a season, basically.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that a spinal concussion is like top of the neck.
On your neck, basically. Yeah. Okay. It doesn't sound nice. I'll tell you. That's the only thing. Nice. Reading the article about it, it didn't sound nice. Because I got to that article because I was also reading Brett Favre's comments, basically telling Mahomes, don't play. Kind of. He didn't come out.
Was it what we were saying about how think of your career as opposed to think of this game?
It wasn't even think of your career. It was think of your life. It was Brett Favre was basically saying, I know this goes against the very way that I played my career, because obviously he was like an Iron Man. Nothing stopped him. Probably played games after multiple concussions. But he was basically saying he's 51 now, and his biggest fear in life is the long-term effects from the hits to like the damage he's done to his brain. And so Mahomes should think about that, not be thinking. He said he never was put in the position that Mahomes is in, because obviously he was never in like having to consider sitting out in a championship game and then potentially even missing a Super Bowl. But that's what Mahomes should be thinking about.
Coming from someone who listens to his 1 hour spot on the radio at least 3 times a week, if that's what Mahomes could become, then Mahomes should retire today.
Yeah. No, I mean, look. Yeah. I mean, great spin from him though, right? Maybe he can blame when he sent that dick pic. Maybe he can blame CTE for that. But I mean, Brett Favre is fundamentally right about all that, but it would stun me if Patrick Mahomes didn't play.
Yeah, it's too. Yeah. The decision's too huge, if that makes sense. And I think in the moment versus long term, you're more inclined to go with the instinct of the now rather than the future. So it sounds like he's playing. Andy Reid's given the positive signs, but also apparently he took the majority of the plays and drills that they did in that practice as well. So everything points to him playing. The line also points to him playing as well. So both the lines have stayed at 3. So our official bookmaker has ruled that the line is a field goal, which is kind of frustrating. I agree with Eddie's point a few weeks ago that I feel like tied lines shouldn't be allowed in the playoff.
2.5 or 3.5, and then just because,
and especially not 3. That's like a clearly easy way that you can, like, maybe if it's like -5, that's pretty rare to win by 5, but to win by 3 has got to be pretty common.
I think they should just avoid 3 and 7. Every other full or like round number I'm fine with, but 3 and 7 just bother me a little bit, because either obviously overtime, I guess you could say 3, 6, or 7, but yeah, no, those just make it 2.5 or 3.5. I mean, obviously you could buy the extra half a point if you want, either way, but just a little bit annoying. If I was running a bookmaker, I would just say our playoff lines are always going to be 2.5 or 3.5.
I've got a question. Which one is the bigger offensive matchup? Chiefs, Bills, Bucks, Packers.
Chiefs, Bills, just because I think there's less defense in those 2 games, and in that game on those 2 teams. Like, so there's a scenario where Packers,
they're 1-2 statistically in yards per game in the regular season. Chiefs were 1 at 415. Bills were 2nd at 396.
I don't think it will happen, but there is a scenario I could imagine where Packers Bucks ends up like 12-9. Especially if there's bad weather. I actually don't know what the weather forecast is for Green Bay.
What do you think it's going to be, Eddie?
Is it snowing?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Oh,
Brady's
maybe snow. Cold and snow.
This is one of those fun stats that is kind of pointless, but this is the first time that Brady and Rodgers have met. I mean, different
in the playoffs. In
the playoffs. So
I mean, they could have only ever played each other in the Super Bowl.
Exactly.
But it is interesting for 2 of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, the 2 of the defining quarterbacks of this era. This is only the 4th time they will have played each other in their career. Two of those matchups will have happened this season. And it just is interesting because, like, when you look back on this, the last 20 years, like if I say to you, like, think of the, 2000s to 2020, like, who are the defining players in the NFL? You definitely name Brady and Rodgers, but up until this game, they've never really played each other in anything resembling a meaningful match.
Yeah.
So it was
a good shutout win for them in the regular season, right? For the Bucks. But going back to your question, Frank, I think The Bills have been surprisingly good defensively. It's actually defensively is the reason they kind of beat the Ravens and the Colts. Bit of luck with the Colts. Whereas the Bucks are a very good defense, like a pass rush defense. So I'd probably say the Bills Chiefs is the offense game, but because the Bucks are that game is such an offense versus defense idea, whereas the Chiefs Bills is more like there's one pretty good defense, there's another okay defense, but two very good offenses. So I'd say Chiefs Bills is the offensive game.
Yeah, Buffalo's defense giving up 13.5 points a game in the playoffs so far. And the Chiefs, I mean, I guess you could say held the Browns under 20, but part of that due to the fact of the fumble on the 1 yard line probably makes a little bit of a difference there. But although I still think the Chiefs defense played better than I thought they would against the Browns. Held them to about 300 yards total, running about 140, 150 yards. I thought it was going to be a lot worse than that. It looked semi-competent. Not anywhere near like a top 10, obviously, but not a bottom 5 defense like I thought they were going to do.
Yeah, I don't know if I expect them to be bottom 5, but they were decent. It's so hard to read into it because the situation in the game, right, changes everything. So it wasn't a shootout, so the Browns played the game different offensively than they might have in other circumstances. They looked fine. I don't think Brady and Rodgers would be afraid of playing the Chiefs defense in the Super Bowl. I don't think Allen will be afraid of going up against it now.
Yeah.
But when the Chiefs defense did play well, when they last played the Bills, held them to 17 points. And one of Allen's worst performances, probably.
And we talked about it last week, right? The whole thing with the Bills, the sample size for them being elite this year is relatively small. And the sample size for Allen being elite is small. So if you are anyone who's confident in the Bills winning this weekend, they are betting on the fact that what they've seen over the past 6 or 7 weeks is the real version of the Bills, and that their defense isn't going to revert to the defense that it was early in the season, in which case the Chiefs could have 500 to 600 yards easily, and that Josh Allen isn't going to revert to what he was kind of last year or even at moments earlier in the season. So I think this game in a way is kind of interesting because there's question marks on both sides. There's a big question marks over how healthy Mahomes will be and how that will impact the Chiefs. And then you've just got the question mark of which version of the Bills do you believe in?
I mean, interestingly enough, the Chiefs against the Colts and Ravens have been outscored offensively by over 200 yards combined. So it's kind of defense has been getting them through. Not uncharacteristic, because like you said, they were Jekyll and Hyde with defense this season. But interesting that what has been their main weapon, which is just raw offensive yardage, has actually been a slightly poorer point into their playoff for the last 2 games.
It's such a small sample size, right? Playoff games, yeah. It's so difficult to, and again, it's contextual. So, there's moments where you just kind of shut down to see the game out.
And I mean, the weather in that last game was obviously an issue, so it was helping the defenses tremendously.
Yeah, but tell you what's our situation with our picks in the playoffs at the moment? Because I don't think we went through it, so it'd be interesting to know from last week. Because we're in Endgame now, to quote a famous film.
Yeah, 3 games left. We don't even have the possibility this year of throwing the Pro Bowl in as an added game to try and save us in the postseason. So we don't even have that. It's just down to 3, and it is very much Sam's to lose. The situation last week, we all did okay. I went 3-1, 3-1. So 3-1 picking the winners, 3-1 against the spread. The only game I got wrong was Ravens both ways. Sam, you went 3-1 and 3-1. Only game you got wrong, Saints both ways. And Frank, you went 3-1 picking the winners. You picked the Saints. and you went 2-2 against the spread because you picked the Chiefs to cover and the Saints to cover, which means our overall standing, picking the winners, is very close. Frank and Sam, you are both 8-2. I am 7-3. So anyone could win that with 3 games left, conceivably.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, no, to have, because they haven't been easy matchups.
No.
So, yeah, that is pretty good. And then against the spread, Sam, you are in the lead. You are 7-3 against the spread in the playoffs. Frank, you and I are both 5-5.
Oof. Lead of 2 with 3 games. Full tactical here. Just listen to you guys.
Well, yeah, you could go tactical.
In the playoffs, we all know in the playoffs, how much you win by doesn't matter as long as you win. So all that matters is the straight picks.
Now, I'm just going to throw out here, the tiebreaker will be the regular season if I catch up.
No. The tiebreaker will be the closest score in the Super Bowl.
Okay. All right. Super Bowl prediction. Fine.
I'm fine with that. It
Yeah.
gives you a chance to come back from the brink. But
from the brink?
Yeah. Oh, okay. You're not close to suicide. Sorry.
Well, I mean, I'm only 1 behind. To be honest with you, the against the spread is good. I think the true champion is the... And I'm not just saying this because I have a better chance.
No, I just said it. I think it's money line. In the playoffs, it doesn't matter how much you win by. It's that you win. So money line is all that matters.
Yeah.
In the
Good
playoffs.
thing I'm winning both then.
No, exactly. And I'm losing both.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying I obviously have a better chance because I'm only 1 behind in the money line.
Yeah.
Although I will say this, it's much more likely that someone goes 0-3 in the remaining games against the spread
2 close ones.
Because, even the Super Bowl, right? Depending on the matchup, you're probably going to see a 3 to 5 point Super Bowl favorite. So you could get all the money line right and lose on the spread.
You think 3 to 5 points? I legitimately see this being like a 1 to 2 point style.
It depends who it is. I think if it's Chiefs Bucks, I think the Chiefs would be. It also depends how well all the teams play this weekend, right? If the Chiefs destroy the Bills and the Bucks squeak by the Packers, I think the Chiefs will be 5 to 6 point favorites. If it's Chiefs Packers, I think 3 points. If it's Chiefs as 3 point favorites, and if it's Bills Packers, that might be a pick 'em.
Okay.
Wait. Okay. I don't think so, but I think Packers would be favored in that scenario.
But to me, it obviously, I mean, really, because the Bills will have just beaten the Chiefs.
I mean, if the Packers post another 500 yards against the Bucks as they do, yeah, I can see that.
But the Packers are co-Super Bowl favorites right now.
Right, but the reason why they'll be co-favorites is because they are more likely to make it to the Super Bowl. If you see what I mean. So the odds have to be shorter on the Packers because they are favorites in this game. So
Is that
the Bills.
True?
Yes.
Oh wait, co-favorites
part
with
of it
the
is
Chiefs
true.
because so they're co-favorites with the Chiefs because they're both 3 point favorites. Therefore, according to the bookies, most likely. Therefore, those 2 teams is the Super Bowl game.
Yes.
Hence why they're co-favorites.
Yeah. So the Bills, you are taking them to be an underdog in at least one game if you're saying they're going to win the Super Bowl. So obviously their odds are going to be longer than the Packers or the Chiefs. But
maybe instead of debating hypothetical spreads, why don't we actually pick our winners first?
Hey, I think that's interesting though. I actually think that fundamentally the AFC, and there is, I guess we could look at that line because there is the AFC versus NFC line that they do where you don't even know the teams. You can just take like the AFC -2 in the Super Bowl. I think the AFC team will be favorite no matter what. Would be my guess. I think the Bills would be favored against either of those sides because they will have beaten the Chiefs, and people will then talk themselves into the Bills being the real deal.
I mean, we can go into the picks. Your rhetoric strikes me as picking the Chiefs because of the way you're talking about.
I'm
Bills.
not. Look, I can swing this. I can swing this anyway.
Yeah, let's do this differently. So I'll tell you what, let's have a chat about the game, and then we're just going to pick at the end of the chat rather than going like Eddie commentary, Frank commentary.
Sam commentary. If you want to get serious enough, then write it down. And so you have to commit now before you hear someone. You got to make your note, write your 2 picks down, and then we can just we can still do our discussion, but we will have kind of made our commitment to who we're picking before the other one said anything.
Good thing I have a whole stack of Post-its here so I can write down every possibility. And then I can pick whatever one benefits me the most at the end.
Okay, David Blaine.
No, Eddie, that'll end with me going, Eddie, you want my picks? Look underneath the lamp behind you.
Yeah.
And that would be amazing if I had the foresight to put a Post-it note under your lamp with 2 teams on it that 8 months. No, actually, it would be more than that now since I've never even been to that apartment. That would be way more amazing.
You left it for someone else you knew in the apartment.
I mean, well, I'll say this. I did have that lamp in my previous apartment, but I have moved that lamp. If you had that, it would be a legitimate miracle. We discussed the other day, how long would you have to live in order to think that you were immortal? I would have to start considering the real possibility that you had magical powers, but that you totally wasted them.
You can imagine somehow with Frank where he'd do this incredible thing, but one of them would be crossed out for another team and he got it wrong. Like that would be the kind of... All right. My picks are down. I'm locked.
I'm locked.
Locked.
I'm
Eddie?
so torn. I'm so torn on one of the games.
If you show up your note and I see like 8 scribbles on the previous pages, I know what's happened. Wow, torn. You are to the final whistle.
I'm so torn on one of these games. Like legitimately, I'm so torn on it.
Well, while Eddie's deciding, I'll just give some facts I saw about the Bucks Packers. We can start with.
Whilst Eddie's singing Natalie and Bruley are torn to us, we can.
So Rodgers and Brady have combined to start 551 games. That's just insane to me to think about when it's a 16-game season, how long they've been in the league and how successful they've been. I thought that was just a cool stat. There's like a bazillion stats about Brady in the postseason that have been circulating all over like the news. So, I mean, all of those are obviously crazy with how many times he's made it to the championship game, how many times he's won that championship game.
9 out of the 10 last years.
Yeah.
The only year he's missed out in the past decade was the last year.
They were giving it like compared as a percentage, like it's better than the greatest free throw shooters percentage and things like that. You know, like it's crazy. They did face each other this year, which Eddie alluded to is rare because they've only faced each other 3 times before, or 3 times total. This will be the 4th. And the Bucks did win that pretty decisively, 38-10. And in that game, if I remember correctly, Rodgers had 2 interceptions and got sacked like at least 5 times. So the Bucks defense was able to get to him. But you can argue that maybe the Packers weren't at 100%.
I've written down my picks, by the way.
Okay. Have you got on like across 2 pages like all the different permutations you can have?
It's in a notebook. It's the top page. It's a notebook of Post-it notes. I have scratched a team out, but it's very clearly scratched out because I wrote 2 teams. I wrote both teams down just to see which one I wanted to scratch out more, and I have made that call.
Okay. Yeah, Frank, that's a flash in the pan game for the Packers, right? You can't say post that they have been anywhere near that kind of poor level. And also, like, the thing that got them was the Bucks pass rush in that game. They really got shut out. They put loads of pressure on him, and they made sure that Rodgers had to go into awkward throws. I don't think that's happening this time around. Interesting stat, though. Packers are 11-4 against the spread in their last 15 games versus teams with a winning record. I think that's always an encouraging one, especially when we go into the Chiefs and their recent record against the spread. But
I'm just going to say that I think that could be a little bit misleading, though, because they would have played teams. The nature of their division is that they would have played teams that really weren't that good with winning records quite frequently.
Okay, fine.
But no, I'm just...
won the last 7 games in a row, averaging 33 points a game. I imagine quite a few of those games might have been teams against a winning record. I don't know. I haven't looked at the full games, but they look good. the Green Bay look really, really good here. And coupling that, like, look, you're coupling a guy that just threw just under 500 yards against a Rams defense. I know Eddie's mentioned about the legitimacy of that Rams defense against really good teams or Super Bowl credential teams, but Rodgers is hot at the moment. He is just, that team.
I tell you, look, all right,
at the moment.
Sam. All right, let's not talk about humming and Aaron Rodgers, but like, let's don't get yourself too excited, Sam. Yeah, take a drink of that water. You need to cool down. But
humming, purring, you can use whatever you word you want.
I'm sure you'd hum on part of him.
That team is cooking. There you go.
All right, because we obviously know who you're picking in that game. Should we make our...
I've made points for the Packers, for the Bucks, then my decision.
I don't think you made any points for the Bucks there, but
they're coming. They're coming.
Okay, but how about we make our picks and then we can explain how we got there. So Who wants to go first, even if we have written down just who your team is?
So you just want my pick, or you want my pick and my reason?
First, just your picks, and then we can go into our reasoning.
I took the Bucks.
Okay, I took the Bucks.
I took the Packers.
I find that unlikely.
Oh, what a surprise. You were humming all over Aaron Rodgers, and now you've got him picked.
Hey, I've got stats in front of me about Brady's postseason record, all that kind of stuff. But
all right, and hold on. And now for the Chiefs-Bills, or Bills-Chiefs, I guess. Who will go reverse order? So, Sam, who'd you go for?
Bills.
I find that unlikely.
I went Chiefs.
Chiefs. Oh, okay. This could be good.
I could legitimately lose the playoffs.
Win. This is it.
I'm up by
win
2.
Or lose.
I'm up by 2. I just need one.
Win or lose.
I just need one. I think.
Yeah. So
no, money line. You're up 1.
Money line. You're tied with Frank and up 1. So money line.
So you win or lose on this.
I'm genuinely surprised it's gone this way.
This either you win money line this weekend, or it's me and Frank in the money line, because I would be 1 behind Frank. Yeah. So I would still have a chance. And then in the against the spread, either we are all tied in the Super Bowl, or you've won it.
Adam and Eve it. I can't Adam and Eve that way.
Or there are other, obviously there's the permutation that you're right on one and wrong on the other, in which case
that won't happen.
Like, in which case, this is still
either you got them all right or you got them all lost.
So maybe the Chiefs win and the Packers win, and it's technically all still to play for going into the Super Bowl. But interesting. I don't know if I like that I have the same picks as Frank.
Read into that what you will. So show your workings, guys. Why the Bucks?
Yeah. So for me, it was tough. And part of this, again, I keep going back to this and I hate it, but I am, as great as the Packers look this year, just something about who they're playing turns me off of the fact that they're as good as their 13-3 record is. I mean, you could just go through some of their regular season wins, Texans, Niners, Jaguars, Bears, Eagles, Lions, Panthers, Bears, Vikings, Lions. I mean, they beat the Saints early in the year. They beat the Titans late in the year. Those are probably their 2 best wins. Lost to the Colts, lost to the Bucks. I think they can be beaten, and I think the Bucks know how to beat them. And an argument can be made that, maybe the Packers weren't on all 6 cylinders when they faced the Bucks, but neither were the Bucks. I mean, you're looking at a Bucks offense that's picked up substantially in the past 4 or 5 weeks. And I think there's something to that as well. And I think the Bucks defense has picked up in the past 4 or 5 weeks. So I think their defense knows how to get to Rodgers and make him agitated, hitting him early, hitting him often. I think that's going to happen again. And I think it's going to come down probably to who has the ball last. And I think that'll be Brady. And I think he's going to win.
I agree with you there. I mean, my big reasoning is how good this Tampa Bay run stopping defense is. And I think they'll be able to stop the Packers from running the ball. And I think what might fool people is they'll think that the Packers could run the ball on the Rams, but actually the weakness of the Rams defense was stopping the run. And I think that what that's going to allow the Bucks to do is to turn this into a one-dimensional game. And I think that's going to allow them to just try and get after Rodgers, try and cover receivers. And I think, whereas I think on the other side of the coin, I think the Bucks will be able to adapt to whatever they need to kind of try and pick apart the Packers defense. So this is the game I was hesitating over more than the Chiefs Bills game, but I actually kind of really like the Bucks. I also, as we said, separate, because we have a group chat going on that from our university housemates. As I said to Jake, the thing about the Packers is the Packers always look really good until they don't. And like this, which sounds, I know, really obvious, but Aaron Rodgers and this Packers team have made a career out of being really, really good. And then all of a sudden, season's over. And those 7-8 games in a row of looking amazing turned into one really horrific playoff performance. And so, in a sense, it's not because Tom Brady's been there so many times and has the playoff pedigree. It's just more, I think, I trust more the all-around game of the Bucks over the all-around game of the Packers.
Yeah, and real quick before Sam tells us why he thinks we're wrong, the other point to touch on, I think, about the Rams defense not being able to stop the Packers is one component of a good defense is having a good offense, and having an offense that can run the clock down, give your defense some rest, and also put pressure on the other team's offense to need to score, to have good drives. When you have a Rams offense that one goes 3 and out and two can't take a nice lead, then you're putting so much pressure on your defense to have to stop every time, and not putting the pressure on the Packers to say, we need to score this drive or we're going to go down 2 touchdowns. And the Bucks have that where the Rams don't. So even if the Bucks defense isn't as good as the Rams, which I actually think it is, their offense makes their defense look a lot better, and they're going to put that pressure on the Packers offense to have to score.
Alrighty. I mean, look, they're both 3-point games. It's tight. There's going to be some really close. There's going to be some game-winning moments, game-defining moments that change all this. So fair enough. But look, for me, Green Bay are a team with just a huge amount of momentum with them at the moment. And I do think that counts for something. Like I mentioned, they've won their last 7, averaging.
Sam, just going to stop you
here. You're already
here.
stopping me right here.
Momentum does not exist in football. Go and read Bill Barnwell. Don't even come at me talking about momentum.
I'm not coming at you.
That was more of a thing for Frank.
I gotcha. Okay. I mean, they're averaging 33 points a game, but something I do like about the Packers is that they are quick starters. So they lead the NFL for first half points, scoring just under 19 on average in the first half. I think that really counts for something. And look, the important thing for the Packers in this game is that they set up their run with Aaron Jones. That will keep their game a bit more multi-dimensional. If the Bucs shut it down, Rodgers may have a problem because it's going to become a bit obvious what they're going to be doing. So I think it's important that they set up their run game. They set it up really quickly, and it also goes well. But look, everything else combined with that, their red zone conversion is really good. They come out of there with a touchdown 80% of the time. I'm really happy with those stats. And to be fair, just flipping it the other way, I need to see a lot more from Brady than in that Saints game. He needs to step up. And this is going to be a much harder game, in my opinion, for Brady. So that's why I'm taking the Packers. I'm a bit surprised you two took the Bucs.
Didn't you see where he tried to high-five the official, though? That was Tom Brady getting his swagger back. That's what you should be worried about.
Nothing says Tom Brady like a missed high five.
Good game, though. That's the first one, right? That's Saturday at 3:05 local time?
No, they're both on Sunday.
Oh, they're Sunday, sorry. Okay.
But yeah, they alternate who plays later, AFC or NFC. And this year, it's the turn of the NFC to play first.
Alrighty. Good game for sure. No one mentioned the weather, which is quite a nice one for not talking about the weather with Lambeau, but might have a factor into it, right?
I don't know who the weather helps or hurts. That's why I didn't really mention it, because I think you could spin it either way. People do say the Packers are more accustomed to it, but then at the same time, the Bucks seem like they would be pretty well suited to a kind of ground and pound approach on both sides. So I don't know who it helps.
And Brady played in New England, so he's used to it.
Yeah.
All right. So next up, I guess Chiefs Bills. I am the underdog in this one, both in terms of who I've picked, but also in here. I'll go first. So I looked at the spreads for the last 10 games, 9 games. The Bills are 10-1 against the spread, and the Chiefs are 1-8 against the spread in their last 9 games. And it was interesting looking at the betting with this one, because the line has kind of changed massively with Mahomes, but also then how I think it opened up originally at about 4.5, quickly went in, then swapped because of Mahomes, and now has kind of settled on the 3. Vegas were coming out saying that a lot of people are just abandoning the Chiefs at the moment just because of that failure to adhere to any sort of spread help that they're getting. Going into the weeds a little bit more, like the Chiefs, interestingly, in the first half of the regular season, were averaging 32. Second half, averaging 26.9, so 27. But that against the spread's interesting because in the same level of games, they've allowed 25.2 average for their opponents. And I just feel like if you keep teams hanging around, it's going to be bad. And at some point, you'll hit a team that will punish you for that one. So we've spoken about this a few weeks ago. I raised it about 4 or 5 weeks ago, but the Chiefs aren't so great when it comes to touchdown conversion rates in the end zone. And what's interesting, in the red zone. What's interesting is in the last 8 red zone drives for the Bills, they've only given up 2 touchdowns. So I think their red zone defense is good. And I think that will be a problem for a Kansas team that doesn't notoriously score that quickly or that often when it comes to red zone visits. So look, it's a toss up. I think, you know what? No, I don't think the Chiefs are the better team. I think the Bills in this game will be the better team. So I've picked the Chiefs on that reason.
I mean, in many ways, the Bills might be the sensible pick in that you're gambling. Like, if there's such a big question mark over Patrick Mahomes and his fitness, that the Bills might be the safer choice. You're kind of rolling the dice. Well, Frank and I are rolling the dice when it comes to having faith in Mahomes. And this one, to me, unlike in the other one where there's no question of pedigree, there's no question of experience on, like, I can't fault either side because you know that they've got, each have kind of bundles of it. Here, I want to see the Bills do it before I believe in them. That kind of is what it came down to, because obviously I have a lot of faith in the Bills. I think they're a really good team. I think Allen is great. I think they've got great offensive weapons. I think their defense can step up a bit. But fundamentally, it came down to me thinking, it's still the Bills, and it's still Josh Allen up against the reigning Super Bowl champions, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, one of the greatest offenses of all time. And I just think, also I got to say, is like that Chiefs fan base made a lot of noise in that game for not that many people being there. I think that helps. I think for offenses that won't, like the Bills won't have played a tough road game with noise this year. And I think that that's a factor where suddenly you've been playing all year having the comfort of being able to communicate well in all situations, and suddenly now being in the biggest moment of your season and communication might become an issue. That's one of the other like X factors that I threw in that increased my confidence in the Chiefs, but none of it's statistical. It's just really, I think it's pretty close to a coin toss, and I'd rather take the team that's been there and done it.
Yeah, pretty similar reasoning for me, I guess. I don't have as much statistics to go by. I mean, the Chiefs did beat them when they met this year, but I think the Bills weren't as good then as they are now, especially with the Allen to Diggs connection. They were kind of just starting to feel each other out a little bit. So the Bills are good. I mean, there's no way around it. They're a great team, but I'm kind of going to go the same, but the opposite in Eddie's reasoning, where for me, it's not so much seeing what the Bills can do first before I trust them. I think it's me just seeing the Chiefs are arguably one of the most dominant teams of the past 2 years. I mean, even the year before they won the Super Bowl, they lost in the AFC Championship to the Patriots in overtime, and they probably should have won that game too. So this could be this could be one of the better teams we're seeing in a dynasty era. So for me, it's more to the fact that I have the ultimate confidence in them until they prove otherwise, and prove more than just us saying their defense isn't looking as good as it used to, or their offense, they look a little shaky. I want to see a definitive decline before I go against them. So I can't go against the Chiefs. I can't go against Mahomes, Kelsey, Hill. Their team is stacked, and Andy Reid is on fire for being a coach right now. And yeah, I'll stick with them.
Which game do you think you're more likely to lose? Which team? I guess you both picked the same one. So
Bucks.
For me, it's Bucks. So
I feel pretty confident about both, really, even though I shouldn't. But if you told me I had to bet my life on one of these four teams winning this weekend, I'm taking the Chiefs. I wouldn't love it, but I would be taking the Chiefs.
Initial indicators then. So you're going for a Bucks Chiefs Super Bowl.
I mean, not initial indicators. Yeah, I've made that pick.
Who don't get smart with me.
It's not like I haven't been like leaving clues around the place and hoping you'd figure it out. I literally said Bucks and Chiefs.
Oh, I thought you were going to go to like a Frank moment as where it's like, Sam, check under your Xbox. And there's a note there that says like Bucks, Chiefs, Super Bowl. So
no, Sam, if you're listening to this right now, rewind it about 15 minutes and listen. And I say,
listen backwards.
Yeah.
Listen backwards. You've given the whole thing backwards. What's the Simpsons? It's like even net Niage, like the join the Navy one that they've got. That's good. So who wins the Bucks Chiefs Super Bowl?
I don't want to make my pick.
Oh, okay.
Because there's a scenario.
I won't make a pick, but what I will say is Eddie has now gone against the Bills the past 2 weeks. So if the Bills make it, I don't want to hear any freaking thing about how he picked the Bills to make the Super Bowl after he went against them the last 2 weeks.
Doesn't matter.
No, you can't do that. And part of me thinks this is why you're not picking the Bills these past 2 weeks, because it's a win-win for you. Because you picked the Chiefs, you're right. But if the Bills win, hey, I picked them to be in the Super Bowl, didn't I? Even though I picked against them the past 2 weeks.
There it is. Yogi Bear comes out again.
Yeah, that's the quality of making really good preseason picks.
Yeah.
All right, Max Kellerman.
Yeah, no, exactly. Do you want me to add my Yogi Bear in it? That's why I put the Bills in my picnic basket.
No, it's so okay. You won't pick.
No, I mean, I just think there's only, it's not like we're dealing with an infinite number of potential outcomes here, right? So I'd rather save that, A, because it allows me to make my points in the episode when we make that prediction, and also B, it doesn't allow you, if this is still all three of us in with a chance, I don't tip my cards before I make my pick.
Genuinely did not see me going the other way on the Packers to you two. I thought that was honestly going to be like a bit of a...
Eddie, come on.
We all knew you were taking the Packers.
So, Eddie, we had some Premier League games, Frank as well, if you saw this. We had some Premier League games at the weekend and over the past few days. VAR and offside has come back again. And I want your input on the Man City goal that Silva scored because of the offside. So I don't know if, Frank, you've seen this, but obviously
Not
the
only have I
Premier
seen
League.
it, I've seen Jack Grealish's response.
Oh,
And he
what
was
did-
not happy.
Oh, really?
He says he still doesn't. He said something along the lines of like, I just don't understand the offside rule, and maybe someone needs to explain it better. So I'm assuming he's alluding to the fact that he thinks it was the wrong call.
So the law, he's wrong. Actually, it is correct that the goal should have stood, because essentially what happened was a long ball kind of got lofted in from the defense, and I think it was Tyrone Mings was the
Tyrone Mings was the
defender.
defender, yeah.
So Man City player was behind him by about 10 yards in what would have been, under old-fashioned senses, offside, because the ball is played in the general direction of that person, and they would have been flagged potentially for offside. I'm just saying potentially.
Really old-fashioned, you're going
Yeah.
here. No, but I do. People are talking about it as if, like, if it hadn't been for VAR, like in a pre-VAR era, this would have been offside. This wouldn't have been considered offside for almost generations of footballers.
Until he got involved, yeah. So that would have been the more modern style, as if he had then run back and tried to get to Mings. So what happened was Mings chested the ball down, and then the Man City player from about a good 5 to 10 yards back, 5 yards probably, ran at him from behind, took the ball, and then Man City then went on the attack and scored. Now, obviously, most people are saying, well, he's interfered with play from an offside position, therefore he's offside. But the law states that if the defender has deliberately played the ball, then the offside position that the player was in is essentially nulled. So he's allowed to then come from an offside position, a miles offside position, and tackle the player from behind. I think it's dumb, because what you're doing is essentially adding this weird dimension to the game where you can have strikers standing behind players, and defenders are now going to have this really dumb choice of,
But why
if I
now?
leave the ball and don't play it, he's offside and he can't touch it. But if I legitimately try to do my defending, which is chest the ball and going to do what Mings was doing, I have to somehow look behind me before I make this play, because there could be a player stood there.
You have to know where. I mean, we're bailing out bad defending. Like, my opinion on, I go back, I think it was either Brian Clough or one of those, and I think I've said it on a previous podcast. I can't remember which of the kind of, and it may even be falsely attributed to whatever kind of iconic quotable manager it was, but who said, if he's not interfering, what's he doing on the pitch? That there's an element of that, but what Mings did was terrible defending. The fact that he just had a lack of awareness of any player in his vicinity and didn't consider the fact Tyrone Mings should have known that there was a player. If Tyrone Mings had stuck his arm up for offside the moment the ball was headed in his direction to try and appeal as if, look, Rodri's offside, and then had left it, I would have been, and then had touched it, and then Rodri had taken it from him, I would have been sympathetic. If I thought that him thinking that Rodri was not able to interfere with play at that moment is the reason it had kind of ruled him out as an active player. But he didn't. He just took the ball, was totally unaware that Rodri was in the area. To me, it's just really poor defending. I don't see, under the interpretation of the offside law that we've had for the past, decades, we had so many worse, I'm always sympathetic when it's things like, say, when we go back to the Manchester City-Lyon game in the Champions League semi-final, where players let the ball run through his legs in an offside position. Their defenders have factored in, this attacking player is offside, we can stop, or we've played him offside. Here, it's just a defender just having a moment of madness almost, and hoping then that he could get bailed out by the offside law.
You think that's no one knows that rule until it was just explained. None of the
Really?
players, the managers, they've all said that no one knows that rule.
You know who obviously knew that rule? Rodri.
Well, are you sure? Or was he just trying for it? Because that's what anyone would do in an offside position. Like, if you knew you were 3 or 4 yards off, you wouldn't just be like, oh, I'm offside, so I'm going to stop.
I
You
know,
play till the whistle. He
I'll
was
tell you,
opportunistic.
if they didn't know that law, then I don't know how. Then they need to rethink how they're preparing preseason, how they're getting up to date on laws, because that's not a new law. It's not a new interpretation. For example, I can even think back to last year, PSG played against, I want to say it was Monaco, or I think it was Monaco, and in the final 5 or 10 minutes, a ball was played into the box with a Monaco player clearly offside. A PSG player stuck out a foot and intentionally made contact with the ball, at which moment in time he has then played any offside players. He has taken possession, theoretically, and everyone is now onside. Not that onside kind of exists, but every player is not offside now. And I mean, if I, as just someone watching football on a regular basis, is seeing those examples and seeing this interpretation being applied in different places, and that was a more controversial one because there the PSG defender didn't even take possession. He literally stuck out a foot and it brushed off of his foot and deflected into the direction of the attacking player. So you can't even say, well, like, Mings legitimately had possession of the ball. The question I'd ask for you then is, like, how long does Rodri have to reestablish himself in an onside position? He just steps back in, then he can tackle him?
It would be like one of those situations where when the ball goes forward, the player just walks onside to then come back off.
Because what you're almost advocating is like a rugby-style interpretation of the offside law, that the referee would shout, sort of like, number 7, you're offside. Yeah, you reestablish yourself now. Okay, now you're good.
Well, that's not for the referee. That's for the linesman to do. So he wouldn't shout it. I'm not talking about that kind of thing. But he would legitimately be like, I'm going to see how this plays out and then judge it because of the actions that have just taken place. Like, that's my point. One of the points you raised that was kind of an interesting one is how the deliberate aspect comes into it. Because, as I've mentioned, by the letter of the law, Tyrone Mings has played the ball deliberately, therefore...
And touched it several times.
Yes, and therefore Rodri's onside, and that's fine. What's interesting is those moments where I've seen it with VAR, where, like, because it clips a person's knee, they've then said that counts as not offside, but yet that's under the same rule as the deliberate. So,
look, but that's the thing, is there are interpretations. As I said, that PSG, I'm pretty sure it was Monaco, almost a year ago, because it was right around this time. So I would say it's almost exactly a year ago. That to me is a questionable interpretation and should be looked into. But in the instance of Tyrone Mings, where he has taken possession of the ball, the question would be how Rodri has to run in front of him to run back. All of Rodri has to be in an onside position before he can challenge him. Can Tyrone Mings effectively keep Rodri as in sort of inactive player for the remainder of the match, conceivably? If he, obviously, once he went into his own half, Rodri would be onside again, but like he could just sort of stay in front of Rodri and Rodri with the ball, and Rodri would never, you know what I mean? Like, the only way to interpret it is, well, you can't be offside once the ball is in the possession of an opposition team. So obviously he's onside now.
I mean, to be honest, my anger at this is more just about the inconsistency of VAR, that, they don't look. The referee said to, can never remember the manager's name, but he said to him, like, I didn't consult because I didn't need to, kind of thing. But he didn't mention that was the interpretation. He just said, I thought it was fine, therefore I didn't check. But that's not what it should be. The idea should be that if there is something questionable that's happened,
but there isn't.
Check.
There isn't anything questionable.
No, but if there's anything doubtful,
but there isn't.
You could say there is, because if the ball has been played and Rodri makes a movement deliberately towards the ball, then you can say that he's in play, which is offside.
But that's not even how the interpretation of whether or not you're active is applied.
But my point is that's still questionable.
It's not, though.
But my general issue is
the only
inconsistencies
people,
with the use of offside.
But Sam, the only people who are saying this is questionable are Aston Villa players and supporters. Like, this is it. You don't need to go to VAR unless we get into a review system. We don't get to go into VAR because Mings has raised his hand. I'm not wasting 5 minutes of my life every game, because if we do that, literally every goal is questionable because someone's going to be able to say, like, look, he pushed me in the back a little bit there, or look, maybe that was offside in the build-up, or look, and we may as well just everything has to be everything has to be reviewed always, and we don't want to be in that world.
A lot of it is actually already, most goals are reviewed anyway.
All goals are reviewed, but they're not reviewed for things in the build-up like that. But it was a correct interpretation of the law. But
they're reviewed for like handball, like 10 phases in play before a goal.
I don't understand this. You wish it had been reviewed so that the review had reinforced what the referee had said done on the pitch. That would have pacified you.
No. Look. My frustration is with the implementation of the technology and the offside rule more generally. It has become too muddied, and minor infringements, so literally like someone's shoulder blade, has put them offside, therefore they're offside. I'm just not a fan of the direction and the rabbit hole that VAR or rules surrounding offside have led to, with technology coming in with an already massively what would you call it, kind of like a convoluted offside levels of interpretation. That's my frustration with it, and this is just yet another example of something.
Explain to me how they fix. No, okay, let's fix. Let's not go into like a million different examples of the offside law. In this particular instance, so you think Rodri should have been flagged for offside?
Yes, because I think that the ball played to him was intentionally for him.
You think the ball was played to him?
Intentionally, yeah. It was played in that direction intentionally for him, and he stood in an offside position.
Okay, and at which point would he be able to reestablish himself as onside?
When he comes back onside.
He came back onside.
But it would have been flagged for offside. So that's kind of a relevant point of thoughts. So the play would have stopped dead. But the play would have stopped dead for the offside foul, and therefore that's irrelevant.
So the play should have, even though the ball was 15 yards away from him, the play should stop then. So he's interfering with play 15 yards off play.
But it's intended for him.
How do you know that?
Well, I don't, but that's where the ball was
You're
going.
Assuming.
So,
no, the ball kind of just was cleared in the general direction away from City's defensive area. Just a long ball up, like just headed miles in the air. Why? How do you know? How do you know? Given this situation is, how do you know it was intended for him and not overhit pass for Gabriel Jesus, who was an equal distance away from the ball?
Okay, then I'll say that about crosses, for example. Okay,
so far post was offside. Sam, I want to discuss this incident. We can't fix all of them. Explain to me how. I'm just asking you. So that ball gets played. It should immediately be blown dead. Rodri's offside. The ball is gone forward, and Rodri is in offside position, so it is offside.
Yeah, I think that's a fairly
so now
way of implementing it.
So now assume, so if the ball is played in a forward direction and any attacking player is in an offside position, it's offside. So conceivably, and I don't want to, but conceivably, an injured player is down in the corner, a pass gets played forward, offside. Or the ball has to be clearly to him.
Very, very rare example, but
we're making the laws of the game. We got to deal with right. We can't have loopholes. I'm fine with your interpretation that any player is in an offside position, regardless of. But you have to commit to it. You have to say ball is played forward in the attacking half. A player is in an offside position. You don't care if the ball was to him. He is offside.
I think that has happened before, actually, where like an injured player has been down on the ground, and because it's hit him on the floor, it's been counted as offside.
Now I want to walk this forward, because another principle of football is the idea of advantage. So say the referee has played advantage there, because which you might say, okay, I've noted the offside, but Aston Villa have taken possession of the ball. So rather than blowing this dead, the Aston Villa players might prefer that the ball stays in open play. At what point does the advantage end? And at what point has Rodri reestablished himself as being in an onside position.
I didn't think there was advantage from offside.
Yeah, you get offside. You get advantage played from offside all the time.
Oh, so you mean like the advantage is because Villa have possession?
Yes.
Okay, I'd probably say the rough amount of time that players usually get, which is about what, 5 seconds, 10 seconds worth of play.
Whoa, 10 seconds might be a bit much.
No. I've seen that quite often. Where like they blow back for a foul quite a while back, and then book them or whatever. I'd say about 5 to 10 seconds, which would probably eliminate Rodri's involvement in that and blow it for offside. But
look, I'm fine with those. But I mean, we are dealing. People have to call this what it is, which is the ball was played in the general direction of Rodri. But fundamentally, I don't think you can say that was a pass to Rodri. He is miles away from where that ball is. It was just cleared / put forward into a dangerous area. He gets back onside before he touches the ball again. So I kind of, aside from taking your very literal interpretation, any player, which I'm not against, but any player in an offside position at the time a ball is played, it's offside. I mean, you have to deal then with a scenario, right? Like one player gets played in down the left-hand channel and a player is a yard offside on the far right-hand side of the pitch. Offside.
I there's holes for sure. And that has legitimately frustrated me when you've got to say like overlapping wing backs or something like that against left midfield or something. They play a ball through, say they both intend to run.
No. You are talking about a situation. That's a good example, but you are talking about a situation where is he interfering or is he active is a legitimate question.
And I'm saying that those kind of...
I'm talking about a player on the right-hand side. So a ball is played. Raheem Sterling's playing on the left. He is miles onside, gets played in behind the defense on the wing on the left-hand channel. He gets played in. But standing over on the right, on the touchline, is Riyad Mahrez, and his big toe is offside. But he's clearly not intended to get the ball, nor are any of the defenders in the area in which the ball has been played thinking about Riyad Mahrez. But by your interpretation, offside, play stopped.
I know what you're going to do with this next comment, but no, because they're on the opposite side of the field.
No, then you're done. You're toast.
Not really.
You're hung by your own petard here, Sam.
No, the ball has gone directly into the center. Why? It's not like it's been belted wildly left.
I would have been on.
I haven't lost anything because of this.
I would have been on board with you if you'd been an offside absolutist. But the fact that you're now going, not. See,
I'm not. Don't do the voice.
But now you're starting going, well, he's not active.
He's 60 yards away. Rodri is what, 5 from where the ball's played, and in the direction of it.
No.
There's a little bit of a difference here. Come on.
This replay. At the time the ball is played, Rodri must have been 15 to 20 yards behind Tyrone Mings.
But the ball was in his direction, right? He hasn't had to go 30 yards to the left to pick it up.
I mean, he'd had to go 15, 20 yards.
Straight forward, straight back, kind of thing. I mean, so it's in his direction.
I guess I have more respect for this Manchester City team than you do. I've tended to think when a Manchester City player misses a pass by 15 to 20 yards, it probably wasn't intended for the person that you're saying it was. Otherwise, I'm going to have to start. People will be like, what an incredible assist by Kevin De Bruyne. And I'll be like, that wasn't an incredible assist. He was actually aiming for a player 15 yards away. And
you know what you're doing. You know what you're doing. But look.
Hey guys, I'm back. What'd I miss?
Wait, who are you?
If you'd been an absolutist, I would have been on board with you. But once we go in this inactive, active sense, like you've just got to accept that Mings should have done a better job defending. That's simple.
All right, everyone, chill.
See, people in America love to play that the European football card is super, super boring. And I can sit there and argue against them. But I would have a tough time arguing for you guys, arguing 20 minutes about the offside rule.
Yeah, you can go ahead and edit that one out.
That is where it's tough for me to get on board by saying it's not boring. I'll tell you what's less controversial. Liverpool's lack of scoring. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of
That's an in podcast response to my bet losing.
I mean, I feel like we are discussing this every week. I think Liverpool are out of the title race almost now. Because if City win their game in hand, they're 7 points behind City.
About 7 games ago, they were about 7 behind Liverpool.
But City had multiple games in hand at that time. Like City have had games in hand going back 10 games.
I don't think it's over. It's halfway through the season.
I'm not saying
it's very easy to change that.
I'm not saying the title race is over. I'm saying Liverpool are out of the title race. And I'm just going to say, not only did I predict that the Buffalo Bills were the dark horses to win the Super Bowl, I also made a prediction that Manchester United would finish above Liverpool in the Premier League. And that's looking pretty good. And should have put that together with Sheffield United to go down, which was one of my other predictions, which is looking dead on. If only I
and Tiger Roll not to win.
Yeah, and then thrown in Tiger Roll, taking the field in the Grand National.
That would be the ultimate ball ache, wouldn't it? If Tiger Roll was the one that let you down.
I mean, if you play out these games in hand, Liverpool could be 6th.
Sack Klopp?
No, but I mean, that's also the other reason why you have to start thinking they're out of the title race, because not only is it about closing a gap of 7 points, it's about other teams not closing that gap at the same time.
It's about scoring goals. I mean, that's Liverpool's fundamental problem at the moment is they can draw games, fine, but they can't win if they're not scoring.
And didn't draw today, Sam.
No, for sure. But this is the problem. This is a big problem for Liverpool now, is they need to get some sort of mojo back with their scoring. It's becoming a real issue for them. And it's interesting how there are these teams at the moment that seem to go through these momentum issues. Chelsea right now, Arsenal went through it. Liverpool are now going through it as well. City at the start only won a couple of their first 8 games. Like there seems to be these real kind of blip moments in this league at the moment.
No. I'm throwing out the beginning of the season differently to this just because there was no preseason really. So I think this is different. But I don't know. I mean, we said on the last podcast, I said the next 6 games would define Liverpool's season and would either decide if they were in the title race or not. I didn't think that the match against Burnley was going to be part of the important ones of those 6 games. But
yeah, what was it?
They are now going to have to beat. They are now going to have to beat Spurs. Like honestly, this is the only way I can see them winning the title race. In their next 5 league fixtures, they are going to have to beat Spurs, City, and Leicester. If they don't win all 3 of those now, there's no way they're winning the title.
In a way, do you think it's a good time to have those games because you can immediately reverse so much of the damage really quickly? Or
No.
do you think it's a problem that they play a team that is as good as looking as City at the moment, and Leicester for that matter?
And Spurs, who aren't looking terrible.
Yeah, they're on the way back as well. So.
No, I kind of think if you were Jurgen Klopp right now, you would want to be playing Sheffield United at home.
Burnley at home.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, he would have thought,
yeah.
Wow, what a perfect fixture for us.
I'm doing atrociously against the teams at the lower end of the table, so we might as well try our hand against the top 5.
And then you're going to start throwing the Champions League back in. So then they're going to have to start, and they don't have a super easy. They're playing Leipzig, not a super easy tie for them. So I think they're toast. Good riddance, I say.
Warm, buttery toast.
Toast. You know what that's from?
No.
Mission Impossible. That's the way he tests the sound thing before he falls down from the ceiling. He goes toast, and the little indicator goes from green to yellow to red.
That is
obscure.
Yeah.
Most people remember the falling down, the kind of like getting lowered down into the room. You remember the
Great
sound
scene.
check.
Oh, I remember that whole scene. Iconic scene.
Very
Okay, yeah,
iconic.
iconic. Yeah, definitely an iconic scene. I didn't know the toast part was part of the.
Yeah, way to Frank to find the one bit of the iconic scene that's not memorable.
Yeah.
Well, the other part doesn't have much sound, so
Yeah, that's true, actually.
because that's why he's testing the sound.
I'll defer on that one.
Now, I guess one of the final stories that we also touched on in the last episode was the situation with tennis players in quarantining for the Australian Open. And a little bit of a war of words has broken out between Novak Djokovic and Nick Kyrgios, with Nick Kyrgios labeling Novak Djokovic a tool for suggesting that, that there needed to be improvements to the situation in which tennis players were living in the build-up to the tournament. And Kyrgios said, no matter how many Grand Slams he wins, he will never be the greatest for me, simply because I've played him twice, and I'm sorry, but if you can't beat me, you're not the greatest of all time. He then followed it up with, I ain't holding back. And obviously Nick Kyrgios has beaten Djokovic in both of their career encounters in 2017 and, well, both of them in Indian Wells and Acapulco.
That's pretty impressive. Like, it's not in a Grand Slam, right? But it's still pretty impressive to have two against Djokovic and have both wins.
The surprising thing for me is they've only played twice, in a way, and that somehow Nick Kyrgios has managed to not retire in either of those matches. That's the most surprising thing.
Yeah,
but
get tossed.
Yeah, but like, my opinion of Nick Kyrgios is that he's both good and bad for tennis. I think he can be petulant at times, and I think the fact that he kind of loses interest on the courts and retires or just gives up and abandons matches, that's really bad when you do have paying spectators coming to see games, and for you to just decide, I can't be bothered with this today, isn't good enough for a professional player. But that his overall fun-loving attitude and the way he kind of says what he thinks, I think that's great. And I think this is an instance of him, and he acknowledged that right in the build-up where he basically said, you got these players complaining and like, we have a dream job. And most people in the world would love to switch places with any tennis player in quarantine. And for tennis players to be complaining about the fact that it's not the kind of 5-star accommodation that they're usually used to is being so out of touch with what the rest of the world is going through. I think he's right.
Yeah, I can see validity in that argument for sure.
I mean, every sport needs to have someone like that.
Whereas Djokovic, who's kind of spoken out, he wrote a letter to I'm going to say it's the governor of Victoria.
Not Arnold Schwarzenegger, then.
No. No. I think it's the president of the Australian Open.
No, but he also addressed it to the person who's setting the like quarantine rules for the state of Victoria.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know if it might not be the governor. I don't know what the correct terminology is, but he, in his open letter,
get to the chopper.
That was part of it. And he said, I've earned my privileges the hard way. And for that reason, it's very difficult for me to be a mere onlooker, knowing how much every help, gesture, and good word mattered to me when I was small and insignificant in the world pecking order. Now, Djokovic was only briefly small and insignificant in the world pecking order, it has to be said. But I just think this looks bad. It's a bad look. It's like when the NBA bubble started and all the NBA players were losing their minds because they had to eat sandwiches out of styrofoam containers for like 24 hours.
For one day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just, you have to understand that people are really putting in so much effort to get these things to go ahead. And just, if you have to be cooped up in not your ideal hotel room for 2 weeks, it's not the end of the world.
And look, they are going to be playing the Australian Open as well. It's not like they're stuck in there and having to play like virtual tennis on a games console to accommodate. They are going to play the game.
And making tons of money, right?
Yeah.
That's the other thing. That's
Yeah.
not
I thought his argument, obviously not for him, but I thought it was that for people who are maybe on the fringe of this, maybe make or break their career, right? You're an average tennis player and you have one good Open major open and it changes your career, and that there could be people that were primed and ready to go and have that world or life-changing tournament, but now have to just sit in quarantine and do nothing to train for 14 days. And then that moment passes them by and they never get this opportunity again. Right. I mean, I don't think he's the right spokesperson for that. I get that he is an ambassador of tennis, so maybe he is speaking for the little people. I don't buy that part of it. I think he's just inconvenienced himself. But I'm sure there are people who this will legitimately affect their careers.
100%. And I'm sympathetic when it comes to those cases. The thing I'll say is tennis players are very, very good at taking the side of the little man or little woman when it suits. So, for example, even in the instance, for example, you take the push for equal pay or equal prize money, at least in tennis, that had Federer, Djokovic, and Nadal all instantly on board. And that's great. But then when one of the big issues that tennis faces is that the money doesn't trickle down, so that there are players ranked, 80 to 100th in the world who are regularly competing in pretty big tournaments, who are struggling to get by when they factor in all the costs associated with traveling all over the world to play tennis. I don't hear Novak Djokovic coming out and saying, hey, you know how I'm supposed, if I win the Australian Open, I'm going to get $2.3 million or whatever. Why don't we cut that to $2 million and spread that 300,000 in some like lower ranking play for some lower ranking players? Or one of the other big issues you have when you look at these Grand Slams is practice time. So every player is guaranteed some practice time in preparation for their matches. And if you're a small player, you just get your guaranteed practice time. But if you're Novak Djokovic, not only you get your guaranteed practice time, but you're able to swing some extra court time in preparation for each of your matches. And again, I don't hear Novak Djokovic out there saying like, you know what, every player should have exactly the same amount of time on court in the build up to their match. Shouldn't be different from me or Nadal just because we're more famous. And that to me is, and look,
I agree.
You can do a good thing without always doing a good thing. But in this instance, it kind of just seems like he's also being affected by the isolation.
Yeah, and he's just using this as his excuse to be able to bring it up. No, I agree 100%. And I think that's kind of the thing that's going to be lost in all of this COVID related stuff is it, at least sports wise, the superstars aren't going to be affected very much. The people who are like these fringe athletes that might get a lucky break and make a career out of it, they're going to be lost. So like a good one for me that comes to mind is, I know you don't want to talk about the NHL, but they've canceled a lot of the minor league hockey leagues. And the people who are in the NHL, they're still playing and they're going to be great. But someone who maybe needed one more year and like they trained super hard, this was going to be their chance to go into the minor leagues, have a good season and make it to the NHL. They have to now sit out almost a year and a half, and that opportunity might pass them by and they never get that opportunity. Like those are the people that are going to suffer. Like I don't give a shit about James Harden having to eat a soggy sandwich in the bubble.
I think James Harden's been eating a lot of soggy sandwiches.
Yeah. He's been eating a lot of something, man. He's got a gut and a half.
Yeah,
it's not flattering in that new uniform.
He does look a little bit better now that he's been traded, but yeah, my word, for a professional athlete, he does not look good. But you're 100% right. And you know what? Djokovic also isn't helped. So you have like Tomic, who Kyrgios and Tomic kind of get thrown into the bad boys of Australian tennis group together, although Kyrgios has achieved far more and overall just seems like a nice guy, whereas Tomic just seems like a total asshole. And Tomic's girlfriend didn't help them by her complaint was that the food they were getting in the hotel was cold, and also by saying on her YouTube channel, this is the worst part of quarantine. I don't wash my own hair. I've never washed my own hair. It's just not something that I do. I normally have hairdressers that do it twice a week for me. This is the situation that we're dealing with. I can't wait to get out of quarantine just so that I can get my hair done.
Wow, what a relatable struggle.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
And that is, I mean, we need to start some, charitable fundraisers for these people because this is tough.
Ooh. Man, I'm actually counting down the days till I go get my hair cut. There is one thing I wanted to bring up before we end this is the national anthem singers for the Super Bowl was announced. And I'm a little nervous because I have won the last 4 Super Bowls on picking the over and under for the length of the national anthem. But this year, it's going to be 2 singers. So I don't really know logistically how this is going to work. And I think they did this purposely because they're tired of people winning the bets on the national anthem. So now they've countered it by giving I don't know if it's going to be like a duet, if they're both going to sing at the same time, if they're going to do like a little back and forth.
Yeah, they'll do one word each.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
Who are the 2?
It's country rocker Eric Church and R&B star Jasmine Sullivan.
Interesting. Trying to please everyone with that selection.
Yep. Pretty much America and the South.
that is the NFL trying to bridge the gap, to cross the aisle as Joe Biden begins his presidency. It's the NFL that's making the first step. Oh, look at that face, Sam. Don't want to bring up that. Don't want to at least acknowledge the fact that the inauguration took place.
Not in Sam's mind, it didn't.
No, Trump's still president.
He'll always be my president.
Yeah, at least in your heart. You'll never believe in any politician who believes in COVID.
COVIDiots, right?
Yeah.
All right. Talk to you boys later.
See ya.